to Curator 135's Strange Tales in History. Today, we're diving into a bizarre and eerie tale from Mount Clemens, Michigan, that has puzzled both locals and physicians alike. A tale where the line between life and death became unsettlingly blurred. Join me as we unravel the strange case of Mrs. Caroline Bollensen. The year was 1885. Mrs. Caroline Bollensen, a 70-year-old woman residing in Mount Clemens, suddenly passed away, apparently from heart disease. Her death was a shock, as these things often are, and the funeral took place shortly thereafter. But what should have been a quiet closure for her friends and family soon spiraled into one of the town's most peculiar mysteries. Just 2 days after the burial, rumors began to swirl amongst those who attended the funeral. Whispers of the lifelike appearance of Mrs. Bollensen's body spread rapidly through the community. Such was the curiosity and concern that her friends, with no small amount of trepidation, decided to have her body exhumed. What they found was chilling. Mrs. Bollensen's body still bore the appearance of life, no signs of decomposition. And so the townsfolk were left with a troubling question. Was Mrs. Bollensen truly dead? To be certain, the body was kept in a room at a stable 75 degrees, a controlled environment where doctors could monitor her condition. Yet, even under close examination, the physicians were unable to definitively conclude whether she was alive or deceased. Imagine the unease, the confusion. Her friends, desperate for answers, refused to speak to outsiders. This self-imposed isolation only fueled speculation. Was this a case of suspended animation, a rare and almost mythical state where the body preserves itself in a semblance of life? Or was there something even more inexplicable at play? The reburial of Mrs. Bollensen added yet another layer to this perplexing event. It's important to remember this occurred in an era where medical science was not as advanced as it is today. The inability of the doctors to determine her state underscores the limited understanding of death and the processes of the human body in the late 19th century. What do you think, dear listeners? Could Mrs. Bollensen have been caught in a state between life and death? Or was this a case of mistaken conclusions compounded by the fear and superstition of the time? As with many stories from the past, this one ends without a clear resolution. Mrs. Bollensen was eventually reinterred, and the case faded into the annals of history, leaving behind more questions than answers. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Strange Tales in History. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. For Curator135.com, my name is Nathan Ali. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.